any of the footage anymore. I was completely logged out. So he gets a phone call from my security system.
They said someone was at your front door. Do you want us to do anything? And I thought it was a scam because they were asking me for a password, and I didn't really even know the password. So I thought it was a scam at the time.
I dropped her off. I had my dog with me because he had an appointment. So then I go straight to my house. He was already there before me. And then I just saw like the whole neighborhood was just completely filled with like police and SWAT teams and detectives. And they didn't really tell me what had happened yet. So the first thing I saw when I walked into my house was like my garage completely ripped out of my house and on my driveway. So 2 detectives went to go talk to me. I went inside their car to kind of verify my ID and everything. And at this point, they weren't really telling me what had happened yet. They asked me a few questions like, are you renting the house? I'm like, no, I'm the owner of the house. How long you lived here? When did you purchase it? And then they're pretty much like confused. And they asked me if I knew this person, and they gave me a last name. And I'm like, no, but it sounds like the person that sold me the house like 5 years ago. And the other detective that was sitting in the back seat showed me a picture and it's like, are you connected to this guy? Have you seen him before? And I'm like, I've never seen him in my life. But the guy that that matched that last name was like the guy that sold me the house 5 years ago. After that, there was kind of quiet. I was finally able to like grab my phone. Then I chatted with him and kind of told him what was happening because they couldn't tell him what was happening.
Yeah, I was in the dark the whole time.
Yeah.
They couldn't tell me.
So that happened when I arrived I finally talked to him, probably happened like an hour and a half. Then another detective approached me kind of like, okay, this is what's happening. We're looking for someone who is a criminal who's been doing these bad things. They couldn't really tell me.
All right, let me fill you in on this case. These 2 people bought a house from a guy that was wanted. All right. So in 2020, they buy a house from a guy. He moves, they move in. They change all the records, show everything. It's all legit. You know, the guy sold the house, moved out. These 2 people buy the house, they move in. And 5 years later, SWAT shows up at their house with a ram tank or assault vehicle, rips all the doors off of their house, rips the garage doors off, totally just go in through the whole house, wreck everything. Well, it comes to find out that the guy they were looking for sold the house 5 years before that. It was all documented. If they would have done their jobs properly, they would have seen that the house was sold. The guy no longer owned that house and he no longer lived there. But they decided to go in and tear the place apart. And they did. And after the lady came home, she explained to him, that's my house, right? They asked if she knows the guy or anything, and she said no, but that sounds like the guy that used to live here before I bought the house. Well, you know, everyone was like, oh, well, this must have been a mistake, right? You know, somebody must have, you know, put his name on the house but no, all the documentation showed that the house was sold and someone else bought it. And they swatted the house. The guy wasn't there. So they stuck this couple with over $20,000 worth of damages, $20,000 to $30,000 worth of damage to their house. They ripped the front door right off the hinges, the jambs and everything. All the doors, everything ripped completely off. All the cabinets open and all kinds of stuff. And the government, SWAT team or whoever they were, said they're not liable for it. And they stuck these people with the bill. And even the insurance company was like, how are we going to, it's not a national, it wasn't anything to do with like, your, no, they got stuck with it. There was nothing the insurance company could do. So this is when government goes bad. When somebody ain't doing their job right and innocent people get attacked. Now, I don't know what the outcome of this was, if they were reimbursed their money, or they sued them or whatever, but this is why government cannot just walk away empty-handed and wash their hands of it and not pay the repercussions of their mistakes. They are not above the laws, even though they're in the laws. They uphold the laws, but when they make mistakes, they have to be liable for it. You can't leave your citizens with a bill when you made a mistake and show up at the house that the guy don't own. You could have knocked on the door and asked the homeowners. You could have sent undercover people there dressed as UPS or whatever to see if the guy was there, to see if any of it made. They didn't. They didn't. There was numerous things they could have done to make sure that that guy that they were looking for owned that house and was there, but they didn't. They just looked up old records of him once owning the home, or that was his last occupancy. And if they would have pulled up to see who actually owned the property, they would have seen that there was a change, that someone bought the house. So they did. They broke the law. They show up there looking for somebody that don't live there. There was numerous ways they could have handled it without just sending a SWAT team in there and tearing everything apart, and then leave the homeowner with the bill. If that ain't corruption, I don't know what is. We, the people, find the government guilty on this one. Right? It was plain and day. Even a moron could see, well, here's the real estate records of the property, who owns it. It was sold in 2020 to these people, right? Yeah, the guy that you're looking for owned it in 2020, but he sold it and no longer is occupied there. And then if they said, well, we don't believe that, well, then send in some undercovers and look. You just don't send a SWAT team in and destroy everybody's property and then walk away not paying no bills. We found them guilty, and they got to reimburse these people plus their time and headaches. Right? Get it right, government. You're supposed to be the best of the best of the best of the best. Anybody would have seen that. Oh, they don't even live there anymore. Yeah, they could have sent a Jehovah Witness of, yes, we're looking for such and such. Does he live here? And, we're from where he's. There was numerous things they could have did, and they didn't. Right. This is when power goes. This is when power is abused. This is when power is abused, and they walk away like they're above God. Right? That there ain't going to be no repercussions. I would have fired them all. I would have fired them all. That was just a stupid mistake. If they would have done their research, they would have seen the guy didn't live there. Place, he sold it. So yeah, this is when police go wrong or whatever it is. I would side with the family, and they'd win this case. All right, folks, I posted this video in my chat and description. Make sure you check it out. Very interesting how they just destroy people's lives, and then how you gonna pay for this? How Oh, well, that's your problem, right? Like we got 30 grand sitting around just to rebuild your house. Right? And what, if insurance don't cover it, uh, maybe the insurance would cover it, but it's going to take some time to figure the mess out. How would you cover that? I don't know. Do I think the police department should be held liable or SWAT? Yeah. Yeah, if you make mistakes like that, you got to contribute something to that mess or mistake that you made. You can't just leave the American citizens with the bill. It's not our bill. And we're starting to see this within our government where these people are making bad choices and the evidence is right there in front of their faces and they can't even read the proof. They can't even, the science, the documentation, they can't even see it. They just do it. So, you know, do I think they're making bad calls all around? Yeah. And they should be held liable. No one's above law. Heck, if we would have done something like this, they would have had us locked up tighter than a frog's butt. Plus, we would have had to flip the whole bill. Right? We had to pay for everything. So, yeah, we sided with the homeowners on that one. And we got to hold these people uh, accountable for their mistakes. God almighty, tear the whole house apart. Oh, we got the wrong house. The guy don't live here. Moved 5 years ago. You're a little bit behind, ain't you? You were so close to catching them. Yeah. All right, folks, make sure you check out this video and this story. I feel horrible for these homeowners, but we're seeing this all over America, where authority now is above everything. And if they destroy everything, make mistakes, even kill people, they're not liable for it. Have a good day.